I'm Sean Means. I'll be moderating this. Ladies and gentlemen, actor, playwright, writer, Mr. Wallace Shawn.
I think you got it. Hello?
Welcome to Utah. Let me ask you first. You started out as a writer before you got into acting. What was the process of going from writing the words to wanting to speak them?
Wow, he's asked a serious question. So
we'll get to the silly stuff eventually.
I had a friend. Tell me if you're bored yet. I had a friend who was a director of plays, and he asked me to translate a play, which I did, a play that he'd always wanted to do, and I had never figured out how to make a living. I just wrote these strange plays, and I was living off of, well, I don't want to set a bad example for any of the younger people, but I was living off of debt, borrowing from friends, and they didn't have that much, really. But I was thinking, I'd been a shipping clerk. I was thinking of driving a taxi in New York where I lived. And so I went to dinner with my girlfriend and with this friend who had gotten me to write the translation. And he said, well, we're going to do the play, and the actors and I would like you to be in the play. And I said, well, I was thinking of becoming a taxi driver. And he said, well, we'll pay you $125 a week. And I said, I know, but that's a lot. But I was thinking of driving the taxi. And my girlfriend said, take the acting job because you can't drive. And that is the true story of how the play played for a long time, and somebody from Woody Allen's casting office, Juliet Taylor, saw the play, and she said, come and meet Woody, and he said, well, we're making the movie this summer, would you like to be in it? That was Manhattan. And it was a movie, I mean, you couldn't, they talked about my character all through the movie, and then I appeared at the end. I mean, anybody could have played that part, and it would have been very noticeable. And then I got into movies, and I figured, well, I don't have to think about how to make a living this year because I've got these movie jobs. And then I never did figure it out, and I've stuck with it. And some years, you know, I've gone back into debt, and some years, but not from friends anymore. Just credit cards. I paid off the friends. I've paid those debts and acquired some new ones. But yeah, that's the story.
I'd say starting off with Manhattan isn't a bad way to go. But one of the first things I think people that you became well known for, became recognized for, is maybe one of the weirdest movies on your resume, which is My Dinner with Andre. Smattering of applause there. It is such a different movie in that it's you and Andre Gregory just talking for an hour and a half, 2 hours. How did that come about?
So obviously some of you have seen this movie and some of you might see it one day.
You all have homework now.
My Dinner with Andre. Andre is a real person. I'm still working with him. Even though that was, I've been working with him since 1970. We'd worked together in theater doing weird plays, which we do. A couple of them we've made into films. After we'd worked on the first play that I wrote for his company of actors, he became upset with his own life and with himself and decided he needed to figure out how he should live, that he wasn't living in the right way. And he sort of got involved in traveling to strange places and following different religions and gurus and doing different things to try to figure out how he ought to live. And meanwhile, I sort of stuck with theater and stayed at home and had a more, let's say, complacent, or I was satisfied with myself and my own life in a way that he wasn't. And so I thought, after a while, he came back and he said, let's do something again. And I thought, well, let's do something about the two of us. Let's do something in which the characters are you and me, and I will be the boring guy who's pleased with himself, and you will be the sort of interesting guy who is worried about his life and himself. And well, in the old days, there used to be audio tape recorders. I don't know if you've ever heard of such a thing. But we recorded ourselves for a few months, just talking about everything about life. And then I wrote a script that was based on those tapes, and we memorized the script. And somehow in the script we figured out how to have a beginning, middle, and an end, and it's quite, it sounds like the most boring movie ever made, and I suppose it would be quite boring with the sound off. Although even then, not really, because we had a great director, Louis Malle. I almost would recommend it. It's I don't know, watch 25 minutes of it, and if you just can't stand it, I won't be there, you can turn it off. And then Criterion, this DVD company, brought out 2 movies based on plays that we worked on for many years, and these have all been put in a package, and you can buy the 3 in a package if you can afford it. you could devote the rest of your lives, really, to watching these three movies.
Well, and I mean, Andre played in New York at that one theater, I think, for years afterwards, didn't it?
Well, we did play for a whole year. I mean, the movie was kind of not successful in the first few weeks, which ordinarily means it would be taken out of the theater. But we had a very nice distributor, and we went to his office every day and kept saying, it's going to catch on, it's going to be a hit. And he was just a friendly guy, really. And it did become a hit. And it played for a year in this theater in New York, breaking a lot of records, and that guy made a lot of money out of it, because he had a deal.
We have a lot of people online here who want to ask some questions, but I want to get to one or two other spots on your resume first. One of the more fun movies you were ever involved in was Clueless.
Yeah.
Very funny. How did you approach that? Because I mean, again, it's literary based, and then it's Jane Austen reset in high school. How did you get involved with that?
Well, I knew the director, and I was at one time a school teacher in my earlier days, even before being a shipping clerk. And I loved that movie. It's sort of my favorite of the movies that many people have seen. And I love the idea of, I mean, I played the teacher sort of the way I was as a teacher, in a way. Although the students were more polite in the movie. In the real school, it was a little wilder, and the students would literally yell, "Boring, boring." Ultimately, I sort of said, let's not do this class anymore. We'll put on a play instead. So I sort of resigned as an English teacher and became a drama teacher. And it was kind of a weird school, so they let me do that. But yes, that movie was a great joy for me. And it's one of the few where actually a teacher is portrayed in a good light, which I love because I was created by teachers, and I believe in school teachers.
I'll go with that. I'll second that. For a whole generation, though, they know you by your voice, coming out of a plastic toy dinosaur. Here. How did you land in the Pixar world?
Well, I wrote a very serious, even tragic play. If any of you are interested in plays, it's called The Fever. And it's a one-person play. And I gave a reading of it in San Francisco. And a bunch of people came up to me afterwards and were asking sort of serious questions about the play, which is a kind of political play, and it's about a traveler who goes to a poor country, a sort of middle-class guy who goes to a poor country. And out of this group of people who were talking to me about the play, there was a sort of cheerful guy holding a plastic dinosaur. And he came up to me and he very cheerfully said, "Here, I want you to have this dinosaur, and I'd like you to play this character in a movie that I'm going to make." And because if you are in movies and your face is slightly known, you do have a lot of strange encounters on the street. And you meet all kinds of people, let's say. And I've met an enormous number of people who say, "I wrote a script and you'd be perfect to play Bob. I just happen to be holding it with me here." And I don't pay much attention to it because usually you never hear from those people again. And to my amazement, I don't know, a year or two later, my agent said, "There's a guy who's making a movie about toys and he wants you to be a dinosaur." And it was all true. And it certainly changed my life because I've lived off that, really. It's as as we get older, well, you can calculate this. I mean, most movies are about people in their 20s or their teens. There are a lot of characters who are, say, 25. So then, if you're 45, you could play their father. If you're 65, you could play their grandfather. As you get older than that, the interest in the great-grandfather is limited. They don't make a lot of TV shows, let's say, about old people's homes or nursing homes. It's not a favorite topic. So, as the career of the actor continues, most of us suffer a decline, a deterioration in our hireability. So that would certainly be true of me. But the plastic toy doesn't really age. And they can't really fire me because my voice is my voice and that's it. So, that's why I say I have lived off of the dinosaur. On the back of the dinosaur, you could say.
I think we're going to start taking some questions here. We got somebody right here.
Wallace, nice to meet you. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you.
I just want to say I'm glad that you recovered from iocane powder. I was a little worried there as a fellow Sicilian. I feel you. So, anyways, I just wanted to say, first of all, I'm a dentist, but I kind of want that as my side job, and I'd rather be doing voiceover type stuff. I love doing different voices. Do you have any advice for me how I'd go about doing that?
Well, I honestly don't know the answer to that. I mean, I think most everybody who does voice work starts as an actor, even though a lot of people get into that voice world, but I mean, if it were me, I would say study acting, become an actor, and try to find an agent and beg the agent to send you up for voice jobs. It's it's a total mystery. I mean, my voice when I tried to sing in high school in a choir, the director of the choir kept stopping the music and saying, "Can't you blend in? Your voice, it's supposed to blend with the others." And that's just, I don't know. I did one thing, and then other people in the voice world hired me. I don't really know. There's no good answer to it. That's about the best that I can do. It's all, I mean, I don't know. Certain people have good luck. And I've certainly had good luck, and luck can't really be explained. You know?
All right, so my question is in regards to your role in The Incredibles, the insurance company boss. Have you ever had a boss like that? And if so, how long did you live with that?
I've never had a boss like that. Although I've been hired quite a few times to play a nasty, selfish boss, and I'm not sure why. I think there is some logic sometimes to why you're hired for things repeatedly. There was one year when I was hired to be a dead person 4 times. And at the time, I wouldn't have even joked about it or mentioned it because it was kind of scary. But that was like 25 years ago. I guess it didn't mean I was going to die that year. I think there must be inside of me a sort of nasty, yelling boss. My father was a boss, but very, very gentle and quiet, and maybe he felt like yelling, and somehow I have somehow inherited his desire to be a yelling boss. I don't know.
Well, you talk about nasty and selfish. Sort of the ultimate of that was on Star Trek: Deep Space Nine. Playing the head Ferengi in the Grand Nagus. First off, what was that like? And secondly, how long were you in makeup?
Well, the Grand Nagus was a thrilling part for me. I don't think he was really, well, he was nasty, I guess, but he just wanted money. He was greedy first and nasty second, which I guess is true of many of the rulers of our society and world. Greedy first, and then in order to get all the money you want, you might have to become nasty. It took, the first time they put that makeup on me, it took 8 hours, because they were sort of experimenting. But ultimately, they got it down to 3 hours. So, in case you think that actors don't work, they do, really. I mean, the regular day of a TV show or a movie is 12 hours, and those of us wearing makeup, we would come in 3 hours earlier. That was a very long day. So we actually do work when we work.
I always wondered though, what do you do during those 3 hours? I mean, the makeup people are attending to you and all. I mean, do you have a laptop? Are you able to read or anything like that? What are you doing?
No, because you're sort of lying flat. And if you're a certain kind of person, I suppose it could drive you absolutely insane, and you would decide that you don't want to play a Ferengi ever again. No, it's a beautiful discipline to just manage to be tranquil and calm and not do anything for 3 hours. It's actually a subject we discuss, not the makeup part, but in my dinner with Andre, there's quite a bit of discussion about do we have the guts to sit quietly in a room and just exist, or do we always have to be doing something? And this was a kind of quiet meditation, although not a formal meditation. But basically, working in movies, there is a lot of time when you're not filming while they're setting things up. So you learn how to kind of float and, in a way, calm down.
Interesting. We have another person to ask a question here.
So what I kind of wanted to know was, like, how long did it take to record the voices for Rex?
Well, basically, I mean, for each film, basically, I did maybe a 4 or 5 hour session where I went through the whole film. Then, because you're alone in a little glass booth, there's no other actors, you just have your script and the director and about 10 sort of higher officials who are all, you say your line, and then they have a little conference, and they sort of say, oh my God, that was awful, he was terrible. Get him to do it more like this. No, more like this. No, more like this. And then the director, you don't hear that. I mean, that's you're not allowed to listen to that part. Then the director comes back on and says, Wooly, why don't you do it a little more like this? And so I got through the whole part in maybe 5 hours or 4 hours. And then a couple of years later, they call you again, and you again do 4 or 5 hours improving what you did the first time, but by this time they've animated it, or they've animated some of it, and they know better what they want, and they change certain lines, or they change the way you say the line. Maybe I had, I don't know, 4 sessions for each movie, something like that.
Next question.
When you are approached with a project, do you find yourself naturally focusing on the writing, or are there other aspects that kind of equally grab your attention to help you decide whether or not you're going to take a project?
Well, basically, I read the whole script, and if I feel I'm going to be sick or nauseated and regret doing it, then I turn it down. I mean, I have a pretty good sense of what will nauseate me. I mean, it's hard to, I don't want to, it's hard to summarize what my attitude to life is, but let's say I'm politically very left. I would be, you know, sort of a Bernie Sanders type of person, roughly speaking. So there are quite a few scripts that I do find nauseating, and I think I just wouldn't be comfortable having my friends see that when it comes out, or I wouldn't want to see it, and I'd be embarrassed to be in it. Now, as I say, the actor's life, usually, for most actors, it's very up and down, that you have good years and bad years. In a bad year, when you don't have much money, or maybe you have none and you're in debt, you're more tempted to lie to yourself and say, well, this isn't really that bad. It's not so nauseating. So you may lie to yourself, but I try not to. Basically, if it meets the sickening test, I'll do it. You know, I've been in a lot of pretty stupid things, silly things, ridiculous things. That doesn't bother me, really. That's basically, occasionally the part is usually, if the part is nauseating, the whole thing is sort of nauseating. In case you didn't know, I'm rather short. When there are a lot of scripts where the short guy gets picked up by his lapels and bullied, and that's supposed to be funny, so I don't do those. Even worse, the short guy gets picked up and is bullied, and then he takes revenge and somehow brutalizes the bully, kicks him, punches him. I don't do those either, because I don't believe in revenge. So I do, and sometimes I've turned things down because I'm vain and the part is too, it's not a good part, and I sort of feel, gee, I've been doing this for many years and they should have given me a better part. I don't know, that's rare though. Usually I'll do it. Pretty much anything that doesn't sicken me, I tend to do it.
Yes. Got about time for one, maybe two more, if it's quick.
So I was going to ask you, I've seen a lot of your funny movies. You're extremely good at being comedic, especially in Princess Bride. And I wanted to ask you, which movie was it hardest for you to like stay in character as you were acting and not like break out with laughter?
Oh, that's, well, I mean, I suppose really the funniest thing I ever did, nobody ever saw. It was a pilot for a TV show with Gene Wilder. And the basic idea was that his character's child was having some problems, and a child psychiatrist was supposed to come to the house and talk to the kid. And I played a guy who had come to fix the roof, but he thought I was the psychiatrist. And somehow in that scene, both of us could not complete the scene. It was so funny. We both broke out in hysterical laughing, and we had to do the scene 100 times to be able to do it without falling apart.
Okay, this has got to be the last one, I'm afraid.
I know this question is inconceivable, but what is your favorite costume?
My favorite costume? Gosh, honestly, I'm very unclothes aware. My God, costume. It could take weeks to answer that question. I find it, yes. Well, I did enjoy the Grand Negus's costume. That was great fun, as was the makeup, really. I mean, that was a glorious episode in my life. I'm going to stick with that answer, I would say.
Ladies and gentlemen, Wallace Shawn.